Hey y'all, hi. So here I am with all of the products that I consider complexion, but as you might be able to see, there are mascaras mixed in here. Mascaras obviously aren't complexion, but I keep this group of products all together in the same place in my vanity because this is the makeup that I wear when I'm wearing almost no makeup. My most minimal face, my most no makeup, basically the foundation of the face, just cleaning up redness, unevenness, brows, brightening up my skin, and maybe adding a little mascara. Like that's what I do when I'm doing the least. And just in terms of the days of the year, that's the kind of makeup that I end up doing the most. And that also makes it kind of an interesting group to declutter because more than other products, I'm likely to actually go through these to use them up. That's a reason to keep more of them. I care a lot about use value, so I'm more likely to keep things that I'm using a lot. At the same time, this is too much. It's gotten a little bit out of hand since last year. It's all in a big pile in my drawer, and when I open the drawer, I can't really see what I have. And in this area, that's more frustrating than it is anywhere else because I'm spending more time with this makeup than I am with anything else. So those are the factors that are going to inform this declutter. If this happens to be your first time to my channel, I hope you enjoy yourself. I'm posting a bunch of declutters in a row right now, so if you like this, I hope you'll subscribe. And let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. So I've separated the products out into categories. Here we have base products like concealers and foundations. These are powders, brows, mascaras, and primers. I'm going to go category by category. Let's start with primers. It's interesting, there are a bunch of different kinds of primers here, right? There are illuminating primers. These do something to prime the skin. They do something to create a surface to which makeup will adhere better and to protect the skin underneath them. These three right here, the illuminating primers. But they also add a glow. They really affect the finished product of the makeup. So that's for specific occasions, you know, for a specific result. Then there are what I consider to be kind of the basic function primer, which is a smoothing primer that leaves behind a skin-like, sort of slightly satin, maybe a little bit matte finish. And right now that's these two. I guess this Surratt primer would also be in that category. It's a little more matte. It's kind of an interesting one, but you know, it's not illuminating. Then I have green color corrector, which I've kind of started to think of as a type of primer. I'll often mix it with a base product, but I think of it as priming my skin to be more neutral before I go in with something else. And then I have an eye primer. So given that that's the case, there are no more than 3 products in any one category here. It's a pretty spare situation and tough to declutter harshly. I'm definitely not going to declutter my one eye primer right now. I mean, it might be something I need to replace pretty soon. I've been using this for a long time, the Urban Decay eyeshadow primer potion, but I'll keep it until I use it up or until I replace it. Green color corrector. The Prism Libre Skin Caring Color Corrector from Givenchy. It's pretty much empty. I have struggled to get any product out of this the last several times I've used it. I think it's time to call it, and this is the perfect opportunity. So that can go, but it's because it's an empty, not because I'm decluttering it. I used it up and I absolutely loved it. Ended up loving it a bit more than the L'Oreal Prime Lab, just because the Givenchy felt so good on the skin, was so good to the skin. But this is a little bit greener. I mean, it's a really effective and in its way, cosmetically elegant color corrector. And I'm definitely going to hang on to this because it's my only green color corrector that I have left now that the other one's done. But you know what I've really been missing? The Exa green color corrector. I think that I'm actually going to place an order pretty soon to get that one back in my life because that is my all-time favorite. But for the time being, I'll keep this. And I actually probably have a pretty good chance at using it up. I mean, I've definitely used most of it by now. So with these primers, the 3 illuminating and the 3 skin-like or mattifying, the question is, are there any dupes? Are they all different enough from each other within each category that it makes sense for me to keep all 3? Do I like them all? And also, how harsh am I feeling? I mean, I think that the Exa Jumpstart Smoothing Primer and this funny Lancome puck, they basically serve the same purpose. So this Lancome thing is the Lancome version of the Tatcha Silk Canvas or the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. It's one of those set, pore-filling, brightening, priming pastes. I actually really like using it. I would love it if it didn't have a floral scent, but the scent hasn't kept me from using it. This is the same thing in a bottle and without an off-putting scent, and from a brand that I really like that's conscientious about its ingredients. I don't know how much of this is left because I've had it for a while. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but I just opened this up to look inside of it, and there's actually a decent amount left. You know what? Here's what I am asking myself. Which of these 2 do I like better? That's easy. I much prefer the one from Exa. I really, really like this. And they do the same thing. The Exa one, for me, does it better, more elegantly. I like the delivery mechanism better. I like the formula better. And I like that it doesn't have a scent. So then I'm asking myself, if I were to use up the one from Exa and still have the one from Lancome, would I be happy switching to the Lancome one and using it up before, for example, reacquiring this one from Exa? And the answer is actually no. I could see myself replacing this with itself while I still had this on the side. And if that's the case, then like what purpose is this serving in my life? It's just here. I'm going to declutter that. The clarity. This Surratt primer, I've had a kind of uneven experience with. I remember once trying to blend something quite dry on top of it and it really didn't go well. But I think that it might be a seasonal thing. This isn't a good winter primer for me, but it's a beautiful product and has some great qualities just in terms of the sort of powdery smooth surface that it creates on the skin. I could see myself getting to the spring and summer and regretting having decluttered it. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that one as well. These 3, gosh. I mean, Auric Glow Lust isn't going anywhere. It's one of my all-time favorite makeup products. It's a little more of an illuminator than it is even a primer. It's a little bit out of place. I mean, it's such a hybrid product, it's kind of hard to know where to place it, but I use it like a primer and I layer product on top of it, so it makes sense for me to have it with these products. I still love the Natasha Denona Skin Glass. It's so serum-y that it doesn't do that thing of creating an ideal surface for other makeup to adhere to be bulletproof, but it's really nourishing when my skin's not feeling good. The Lisa Eldridge, on the other hand, does do a good job of creating a really beautiful plumped surface for product to adhere to. So I feel like I choose between these 2 depending on how my skin's doing. I don't like the shade of this and how dark it is. I wish I had, what is it, Pink Moon, the lighter shade, and maybe one day I'll get that and replace this with that. But for the time being, this is workable. This is Crystal Nebula. So we have Lisa Eldridge Elevated Glow, Natasha Denona Skin Glass, and Auric Glow Lust. I mean, 3 really different products that essentially do quite different things, even though they're in the same category to me. And I use them for different purposes, and it's a category of product that I really love. And I don't think that 3 is too many to have in that category. So yeah, I think I'm gonna keep all of these, my 5 primers. Let's knock out mascaras. Wow, I feel like I've been doing a pretty good job of keeping on top of my mascaras. Or maybe I recently enough decluttered them, but I usually have a real glut of kind of crusty old mascaras at the end of the year, and I just have to cut a swath through them. In this case, this is what I've been reaching for in the everyday recently, the Lancome Lash Idol mascara. It's really great, and it's pretty fresh, so I'm definitely gonna hang on to this. I also have this lash primer from Lancome. I've only used it once on camera, so it seems like it would be a shame to declutter it right now. I mean, I can't give it to anyone because I used it on my eyes. I'm not totally sure I'm going to use this a lot, but I'd rather keep it around and just see if I do rather than it going to waste like right away. One of the best mascara discoveries of the past like decade to me, the Pillow Talk push-up lashes. So they're not just Pillow Talk branded, not they, but it. This mascara is not just Pillow Talk branded, it's the color. It's this like burgundy color. I absolutely love this as a brown mascara. I'm totally gonna keep this. And it's actually not that old either. And you know, even though I ended up quite liking the voluminous brown balm, like quite liking it, for a mascara that's not black, I prefer the push-up lashes because this is such a dark brown that it still kind of reads as a brown on my lashes. It's a great product. Oh, I was gonna say it still kind of reads as a black on my lashes. It's so dark. It doesn't give me that kind of soft, darker color look. I'm getting that from the Charlotte Tilbury product. So this is a really great product. It's not that I don't recommend it. It's just, it's a little long in the tooth and I have something that I would rather use instead for the same purpose. So this has lived its life already. This is also just so old. This is Make Lash Prototype, Make Beauty Lash Prototype. This is the hero mascara of the last year for me. But it's, I mean, I haven't actually been using it. It's totally dried up. And it's quite old. I mean, it's months and months and months old. It might even be over a year since I got this, but it's been months since I even stopped using it. It's just been languishing in the drawer. So it's time for it to go. It's an empty, but I would love to have this again. If I feel the need of a mascara, if I get to a point soon where I'm like, I need to buy myself a mascara, this is the one that I'll buy. And then NARS Climax. I haven't really given this a fair shake. I remember kind of liking it in the NARS review, appreciating what it did for my lashes, and then I didn't really like it recently in that video when I was testing out makeup that I thought I might declutter. I found the brush to be sort of big and unwieldy compared to the more delicate brushes that I have been using lately. I think it sort of took me by surprise and I was like, and then my lashes ended up looking really great. And actually when I was editing that video back, I saw the way my lashes looked after I applied the mascara and I was like, maybe I should keep it. But mascara is the kind of thing that I tend to just use the one that I'm using, you know? I mean, if I do keep it, here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna use Lash Idol. I'm gonna use the Lancome every time. And then a couple months from now, I'll have not touched this. I'll have used this up, and then this will be of an age that it kind of makes sense to declutter it, and it will probably get decluttered. So I'd rather just not have it in the drawer, and then I don't have to experience any decision fatigue. When I'm going to apply black mascara, it's this one. If I don't want black, it's this one, and then I may or may not use this. We'll see. As simple as that. I feel like I've really been giving myself a talking to through this declutter. Shall we, emboldened by that thorough mascara declutter, shall we approach the biggest and most challenging category? I think we shall. Okay, so let's first address the no-brainers in either direction. The two Natasha Denona concealers, I'm definitely keeping. RN1, that's Rosy Neutral 1, that's the top. Y1, that's Yellow 1, that's the bottom one. Together, they make my perfect color. They're quite heavy duty, but they're really good for me because I am on camera a lot when I'm wearing makeup and they are just seamless on camera, especially when applied with a sponge. I've actually kind of been appreciating the full coverage of these lately because it feels so one and done to me, and I'm often just trying to cover my redness and scars really quickly and have my skin still look pretty good. I mean, in terms of texture, and these accomplish that. I am kind of wanting to branch out a little bit into less heavy-duty concealers. I had fallen into the habit of using these every time I do my makeup. I'm starting to get a little bit restless with that, but not to the point where I'm ready to let them go because they've just really been holding down the fort for me. My best concealer of all time, the Rose Ink Concealer in LX010. I think this might be the kind of thing that I'm talking about when I say that I'm ready to start tiptoeing into other realms with concealer. I do believe I want to start using this again more. So I'm definitely going to keep it, and I'm going to I'm going to have to clean it up first because this is the one really annoying thing about this concealer. It gets so disgusting, the packaging does. So I'm going to clean it up. Actually, I'll do it now. Okay, clean it up as well as I could. Honestly, there's not a good way to clean the inside of the cap, except for maybe with a Q-tip, and I don't have any down here. And what's going to happen is the makeup that's compacted inside the cap is immediately going to transfer to the threads of the screw top, which I just cleaned. So we'll see how well that keeps. But I would like to make an effort to start using this again because it has the full coverage of the Natasha Denona. It has a dewier finish. You know, it's funny. One of the things I've been appreciating about the Natasha Denona is that it dries down and sets so firmly and it doesn't transfer. This is a little dewier and I think I would be afraid of it transferring more, but I need to try it again and just see if that's really the case. I've just fallen out of touch with it. But needless to say, I'm not going to declutter it. What I am going to declutter are the ColourPop concealer. I just don't need it when I'm using these so consistently and the formulas are, you know, so spectacularly good. And it's a little bit like bright and not neutral enough for me. The Kosas concealer is finally kicking the bucket. It's a great concealer. It's just, again, these have that kind of dusky neutrality. These when mixed together and this on its own. And they're super pigmented and they're really giving me everything I need. This is a slightly more serum-y one. It's a little bit brighter and it has a little bit of a strong scent and it's kind of old. So these can go. Those are the only no-brainers. Oh no, this is one that I'm definitely decluttering, the Manasi 7. I talked about this. I tried it out again in that recent video and I realized that I don't want to keep it. But actually, I don't have that House Labs white foundation down here. I don't know where that is. I don't know how it got left out of this declutter. I'm definitely keeping it. I'm keeping it instead of this. I'll have to keep that in mind as I go through the rest. That is an easy pass. So those are all of the no-brainers. These I'm not as sure about. Here's the thing. This is a category of product, as I was saying in the intro, that I use a lot and I really like for that reason. But realistically, I end up using the same thing over and over again. Like, I've used these Natasha Denona concealers every day for months and I haven't really touched these other things. And that's okay with me. I'd like to branch out a little bit, especially for demonstrating things on camera, but I just don't want to have to push it. I don't want to have to push myself. And I'm craving even more space and clarity in my drawers than I ended up with last year. So I'm going to try not to talk myself into anything. I don't think it's hard to talk myself into the Merit stick because I've been having so much fun playing with this, mixing it with other products. It's actually, it's a shade or two too dark, could be more neutral, but it's not that far off. This is the shade Bone. I've actually just found myself using it lately, so I'm going to keep that. It doesn't feel like a strange decision. I've also been re-impressed by the RMS Beauty Re-Evolve Foundation. Just quickly for context, this is the RMS foundation. That's a perfect match for my skin. Really neutral, almost a little bit gray and quite pale. That right there is Merit Bone. It just looks positively peach next to a complexion product that's a really true pale neutral or, pale kind of neutral olive. Desaturated, anyone? So it's not great, right? It's not sufficient, but I find myself so often running into things that I can mix with this, and then I enjoy using it so much. I enjoy the feel of the product in my hand and on my skin, the ease of application, and the skin-like kind of creamy quality, whereas this, the RMS, is a true liquid foundation that really dries down. Great for camera, but this for me is better for every day if I can find the right thing to mix it with. But, I just don't think I can pass this up right now since I've rediscovered it recently, the RMS, and appreciated the lovely finish and the great color so much. Here's something that I'm going to do. I am going to, I think, part ways with this Ket Compact. I really like these products. They're like professional cream makeup products. I especially appreciate this, which is basically the dream blush color. It's really amazing. This is actually a pale olive cream complexion product. I really like the shininess of this highlight. These are truly impressive, truly incredible professional cream products, and this is like the perfect palette for me. In another life, my friends, in another context, you couldn't pry this from my cold dead hands because it's really great. And you can see I use it, or I have used it, but we're talking about really minimizing here, and that means letting go of things even if they're great, if they don't check every single box. And the thing that is hard about this for me is that it's out of place everywhere. It doesn't feel right to put it with the blushes because it has complexion products in it. It doesn't feel right to put it with the complexion because it has blushes in it. I constantly forget about the complexion products in here. I reach for it from time to time just for this blush, but it's in the wrong place, in an awkward place. And it, more than anything, when I look into my complexion drawer, kind of scrambles my mind about what I'm going to do because I see it. It's got all of these different types of products. It's got all of these different colors. It makes me feel guilty when I see it because I'm like, oh, that's such great products. And I just have never really figured out a way to integrate it seamlessly into my life because it's this palette that doesn't really fit anywhere. It's as though even though I know the products are great, I've never bonded with them. That's exactly what it is. I've just never quite bonded with it. And it's through no fault of its own. It's a quirk of my way of interacting with makeup. I am just much more likely to reach for individual concealers or foundation product in their individual containers and then to reach for an individual blush and use it. And that's going to be the reason. I don't need to hold on to it just because the products are good when we're not really connected. Wow, I feel free. And also, I feel free to decide to keep the Monica blender cover because every once in a while, a really good pigmented cream foundation is what's called for. And now that I've decluttered those Ket products, this is my only one. So that can stay. I feel like I've freed up a lot of space by letting go of that one from Ket. But I don't know about the Surratt Dewdrops foundation. This is one I would have liked to retest. I think I need to gather more information about this. I would like to love it, but I can't really remember. Well, I remember that I reviewed it and that I liked it better than the other foundation that Surratt had sent. I haven't bonded with it, but it's not because I'm not going to. It's because I haven't given it enough time yet. So I'm keeping this, but it's on trial. This, it's still in purgatory technically. This is my current complexion collection. Let's talk about powdering. Have I been doing it? Not really, except that when I have, I've been using this NARS powder. This is a very pigmented powder. It's actually technically a powder foundation, but I've been using it just to set, take down shine. Anytime I need a powder, this is what I've been using, and it adds a little bit of extra pigment, which is great. This is in the shade Cliff, and I just love it. It's so slim and satisfying and NARSy. And I have completely ignored the Make powder since getting this NARS one, and the Chantecaille powder, which is a little bit illuminating. This Make powder is supposed to be a translucent powder. It's not pigmented like the one from NARS, but they do seem to have kind of an equal amount of pigment, and the NARS one is paler, although it is also a little bit pinker. They're slightly different types of products, but I use them for the same thing. Okay, here's what's going on. I'm not going to keep this Chantecaille one. It is like a soft illuminating veil, but it's just not the kind of thing realistically that I'm wearing these days. I kept it last year, or the last declutter that I did, and I don't think I've used it since then. I haven't used it in a really long time. So the question is, should I keep both of these, or should I just keep the one from NARS? They are different types of products. So the Make one is marketed as a translucent, sort of diffusing setting powder. NARS is, marketed as a soft matte perfecting powder, a pigmented like complexion powder. But realistically, they're both powders, right? Like they both set makeup, they both do a little bit of complexion refining, and the NARS one is a bit more brightening on me. And the reality is that I have just been wearing it and only it. I kind of feel like it's the only powder I need. I like this product from Make, and I like Make Beauty a lot, but I want to downsize. And lately I look into my powders, and I look into my drawer, this drawer, and there are all these powders there. I mean, there are 3, but it feels like there are all these powders there, and I'm just like grabbing the NARS one over and over again. So I might as well only keep the NARS one. Brows. Okay, this e.l.f. pomade thing can go. This is a great product. And once in a while when I'm in a pinch for brows, I reach for it and I use it to sculpt or to fill in my brows. It's like a combination eyeliner cream thing. It's too chunky, takes up too much space for the very few times that I ever use it. And it doesn't really bring me joy, I'm not going to keep that. I'm going to keep these 2 sets of products. Actually, the Kimiko, yeah, I'm going to keep these 2 sets of products. So the Kimiko brow gel and pencil, the Refi brow gel and pencil. The Kimiko ones I've had for a lot longer, so they're going to kick the bucket sooner, but they haven't kicked it yet, and they're so great, especially the brow gel. And the Refi, I'll just use all of these until I use them up, and it's guaranteed that I will use them up. So I'm excited to keep them and go through them because I love to use a product until it's finished. This ColourPop thing, I used to always like having a feathering thing like this, but why is it so orange? Why is that brown so orange? I'm not using this. I don't know why it's even in here. And that's it. I've done it. So here we have foundations and concealers, primers, mascaras, and brows. And here along the top, the decluttered products. Not as vicious as my blush declutter. There are 22 things down here that I'm keeping, and 13 things up there that I'm decluttering or that are empties. So that's roughly 1/3 of the products that have been removed, and it's leaving me with something much more manageable for me, especially in specific areas like mascara, powder. I'm just going to be so happy to have the decisions made for me in advance. So that's what's going back in the drawer. Although I have been keeping my illuminating primers up with my skincare, and I quite like that. I'll probably go back to doing that when I get myself reorganized. So really, these will be somewhere else, and that is what's going back in the drawer. Some difficult decisions here today. Some things that I finally parted with after months, if not years, of sort of deluding myself into keeping them. But I feel really good. I'm really pleased with the results. I hope that you enjoyed coming along with me, and I am really grateful to you for being here. And I hope that you remember to take extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.